Good day everyone and welcome to Rappler Recap. Ngayong araw makakasama natin ang justice reporter ng Rappler na si Lian Buan para pag-usapan ang tax evasion case kanina na promulgate ng Court of Tax Appeal. So for backgrounder lang, kaninang umaga naganap yung promulgation ng apat na consolidated cases ni Maria Ressa, Nobel laureate at ng Rappler. So inacquit ng court yung Rappler and si Maria Ressa for the cases due to certain causes na pag-uusapan at didiscuss mamaya ni Lian Buan. Welcome to Rappler Recap. Kala mo Rappler to. Welcome to Rappler Recap, Lian.
Oh, thank you, Jairo. It's nice to be joining you. It's nice to see the office, and it's nice to be back on board for Rappler for this news. So you were just in the Court of Tax Appeals earlier, and what was the ambiance? Because I heard that brinodcast ng CTA yung audio of the promulgation to the media area, which is very unusual. Um, I it's the first time that I'm hearing of like a broadcast of an audio of a lower court promulgation. What was it like covering in the CTA?
Pagdating namin kanina doon, mga around 7 a.m., naka-prepare na lahat ng media na magko-cover. So around 7 a.m., nakaabang na kami sa gate ng Court of Tax Appeals. And then they were aware, especially the guards, na talaga maraming pupunta for the promulgation. Around, I think, 8:10 or 8:05, pinayagan na pumasok. So very unusual din yon kasi parang ang unang briefing sa amin ay hindi pwedeng pumasok. But unfortunately, pinayagan na pumasok yung mga reporters and then other FOCAP, yung mga members ng Foreign Correspondents Association of the Philippines. And then afterwards, ay surprisingly, parang ang unang advice din ay hanggang media area lang. So the media area is on the ground floor. Pero pagdating ni Maria, sinabihan na rin yung mga reporters na we can go upstairs daw sa mismong media area sa tabi nung room, nung courtroom. So from there, binonodcast siya, audio. So nakikita namin sila, may glass lang doon. So nakikita namin yung mga galaw ng mga respondents. Kasama doon si Ma'am Glenda Gloria, ang Vice President ng Rappler Holdings Corporation. Nandun din si Miss Fel, ang head ng finance ng Rappler. And then, of course, the lawyers and legal counsels of Rappler. Nandun din, I think, yung mga representatives ng BIR for the filers. Anyway, doon from that, medyo kalmado yung ambience. I think even the Court of Tax Appeals employees, medyo kalmado sila. Ina-assist nila everyone. Very unusual kasi I've been um, to other courts,
Yeah,
lower
we've
court,
all been to
special
other courts
court.
where
Yes.
it's chaos all the time. Yeah.
Hmm, this one is very surprising na parang, yeah, you may go inside po, just avoid recording. So very kalmado sila, very welcoming. Tapos pagdating doon, during the promulgation, naka-circle around yung mga reporters covering the promulgation. And then, inayos lang ng konting audio and then from there, narinig namin siya. Naging mabilis actually yung promulgation kasi I think nag-manifest or nagtanong yung acting chairperson kasi hindi siya presiding judge kasi
Yeah.
nag-inhibit si judge. So si acting chair, tinanong niya baka pwedeng yung dispository part na lang or yung part na lang ng wherefore, yung babasahin na yung
The dispositive
decision,
portion.
dispositive, I'm sorry, part of the decision or resolution and decision, yung babanggitin na lang. And then I think nag-agree yung both parties and then after that, 80 pages kasi yun. So binasa na siya. And then after mga wala pang 5 minutes, I think 3 minutes into the reading, binanggit na parang 4 cases and then binanggit yung docket number ng cases and then acquitted. Tapos after that, narinig namin si Miss Fel, isa sa mga witnesses din na tumili talaga siya. And then sobrang parang ang saya ng ambience sa loob mismo ng courtroom. Very, very happy. Even the reporters covering nga, they were congratulating me as Rappler reporting covering the event. And then they were very happy then for Rappler. They congratulated me and then I think they also talked to Maria during pababa. And then during the press conference afterwards, humarap si Maria sa press, kasama niya si Attorney Francis Lim and Attorney Eric Recalde, mga legal counsels natin. And then she faced the media. I think yung mga pinaka magandang mga sinabi ni Maria talaga na tumatak doon is that facts win, truth wins, and then justice wins. So, inaalay daw ni Maria yung win na to, yung acquittal ng 4 cases doon sa mga unjustly persecuted under the Duterte administration. So, of course, the cases were filed under the Duterte administration and then one administration later, it was dismissed. Sinabi din ni Maria na maganda tong simula for the remaining cases kasi hindi pa naman tapos yung laban. We still have a tax case pending before a Pasig Regional Trial Court, and then of course inakyat pa sa sa Supreme Court yung mga pending cases. And then nagsalita rin I think si Attorney Lim to share yung thoughts niya. So isa sa mga pinaka diniin niya rin doon ay yun nga, yung magandang president ito dahil na-acquit kasi magkakaroon ng problema with the PDRs, with how the Philippine Depositary Receipts will be treated. And I think Lian will be discussing that later on, especially the important parts of the ruling. So generally, masaya si Maria, even kasama, of course, yung mga legal counsels and Rappler executives na kasama doon. And then, yeah, I read some parts of the decision, so Lian will discuss it, but yes, acquitted doon sa apat na yon. Lian, ano namang sinasabi nung Court of Tax Appeals? Kasi very interesting to, especially that this has been around for 4 years and
Yeah.
talaga may pending pa rin tayo na case before a Pasig court. Anong sinabi ng decision?
Right. I haven't read a court decision in the last 4 months, but it's nice to be reading it for now. So I'm gonna do it one by one. Okay. So the mother case, we call it the mother case. It's the theory of the former Duterte government that when Rappler raised capital and issued Philippine depositary receipts to foreign investors, North-based media and Omidyar network, the PDRs amounted to some amount of foreign control. And under our constitution, media companies in the Philippines should be 100% Filipino-owned. So that is the mother case, and that is the root of why there is a pending closure order on Rappler. And that came from the Securities and Exchange Commission, and that is being appealed at the Court of Appeal. So yun yung unang-unang kasong hinarap ng Rappler just after President Duterte said in his State of the Nation address in 2018 that Rappler was foreign-owned. This was the first public attack in such scale on journalists. And after that, dito na nagsimula yung tax case na napunta nga sa Court of Tax Appeal. So the Bureau of Internal Revenue and the Department of Justice under former President Rodrigo Duterte had the theory na not only did the PDR amount to some foreign control, it also was taxable income. At dahil taxable income on PDR, Rappler evaded taxes that year for 2015. So that was the theory of 5 overall cases filed. Pero 4 lang yung nasa Court of Tax Appeals because the other one, the last one, the amount involved was below 1 million pesos. At kapag below 1 million pesos, hindi siya pwede sa Court of Tax Appeals. So magkakapatid sila, they all come from the same facts, pero this one was separated. It was filed in the Pasig Regional Trial Court, and that's why there is a 5th loan case at the Pasig Regional Trial Court. Itong 4 na to sa CTA, they were consolidated as one. So we count it as one tax case, and basically the accusation is because PDRs are taxable income and Rappler didn't pay tax that year in 2015, then they committed 3 counts of willful failure to supply correct information in their tax returns and 1 count of tax evasion. So this is what the Court of Tax Appeals First Division ruled. They said, and I'm paraphrasing and reading from the excerpt of the decision, there's nothing in the wordings of the PDR instruments and the PDR subscription agreements that would show that the foreign entities will become owners of the shares of stock of Rappler upon the issuance of the PDR. So they're saying, by issuing a PDR, the foreign investors did not become owners of stocks, owners of shares. And that firstly disputes the theory of the former Duterte government that Rappler acted as a dealer in securities, because the tax court is saying nothing in the PDR agreement says that by getting the issuance of the PDR that they have become owners of the shares of stock. And because of that, then the PDRs were non-taxable. So sinabi ng CTA that the non-taxability of the issuance of PDRs to North-based media and Omidyar network, the court concludes that the elements of the crime are not present. As discussed, no gain or income was realized by accused in the subject transaction. So it disputes the 2 theories of the government, which is that Rappler acted as a dealer in security and did not pay tax on the income gained by selling those security. So the tax court is saying the foreign investors did not own shares of stock, and the PDRs did not gain income. And so Maria Ressa and Rappler Holding Corporation was acquitted of 4 counts of tax violations. And I call it the first victory of Rappler since 2018 kasi if you remember, meron ng dalawang libel na dismiss laban kay Maria sa Rappler and Rambo Talabong. But both cases that were dismissed was because the complainant withdrew. So first it was Wilfredo Keng who withdrew like the second libel case in Makati, and then the Saint Benilde story of Rambo was also withdrawn in the middle of trial. So I would say that this is the first time that the court actually said acquitted. You are cleared of charges. So in the 7 active court cases, this was the first victory overall. This was the first victory ever of Rappler. And that's why I think, and that's why I heard Maria say earlier that for all the negative things, she doesn't cry. But for the positive thing, it's when she cries, pag good news. So yun, so because of the dismissal of these charges, there now remain 3 active court cases against Maria and Rappler. The first one would be the cyber libel conviction, which is now in the Supreme Court. The second is the loan tax case at the Pasig Regional Trial Court. And the third would be the mother case, which is ongoing another round of litigation at the Court of Appeals. Jairo?
Yeah. Lian, very important itong case na to, especially that sinabi kanina ni Maria na from now on, at least kasi majority of the 4 out of 5 of the tax cases, so hindi na matatawag na tax evader si Rappler, and that hindi na magagamit ng trolls to attack Rappler, especially on the allegations of tax evasion. Pero yung iba kasi nagulat, especially the other reporters covering, because they were not able to follow the case since 2018, so they were surprised that there's a 5th case. So what will happen now with the pending charge before
Yeah.
the Pasig Regional Trial Court?
Right. I mean, no one, not even the lawyers, can preempt the Pasig Regional Trial Court on what's going to happen to the 5th case, but they are not only related, they are the same charge. Same facts of the case, same argument. The reason why it was filed at a different court, it's just because of the amount. The Court of Tax Appeals does not handle a tax case that is below 1 million pesos. So it's I wouldn't even say pinsan siya ng mga. It's like it's a sibling of the 4 cases. So I'm very sure that Rappler's lawyers are now preparing a pleading that will use the victory before the Court of Tax Appeals and seek and tell the Pasig Regional Trial Court that they must follow the decision of the Court of Tax Appeals. Because let's say just in the scenario that the Pasig Regional Trial Court convicts Maria and Rappler of that 1 count, it's going to be appealed before the Court of Tax Appeals, which has already cleared her. So I mean that's the outlook, you could say. But yeah, I mean, no one can preempt the court, but it's a really important victory for the 5th case. Yung relation sa SEC, it's hard to like make a connection to that.
Siguro last point na lang niyan. Importante kasing context then that this acquittal happened during the time of current President Ferdinand Marcos, and that majority of the cases, if not all of the cases were filed, but likely, of course, most of the cases were filed under former President Rodrigo Duterte. As someone who covered Marcos and followed Marcos for months, how do you say the political climate, as an observation, affected the ruling? Is this somehow connected to the way Marcos presents himself, especially in the Western countries or in the international community in general?
Look, I mean, everyone you ask, especially in the legal profession, no one will ever admit that the political climate affected the decision at all. Like every one of us wants to believe that the judiciary is fully independent, and they should be independent. They are by design independent. What Attorney Francis Lim was saying earlier was that everybody knew. I mean, the judiciary is independent, but they're not immune to, like, they're not affected by politics. But what Attorney Francis Lim was saying kanina is that everybody knows where this came from. It was pointed out in the pleadings that this is the first time in 20 years that the BIR framed PDR that way. It is the first time that a media company issuing PDR was pursued for tax evasion because it's capital raising. So, like, we want to believe that politics didn't play a part of this, but we're all aware that this didn't happen in a vacuum. But you made the point also that President Bongbong Marcos wants to appear an ally of human rights before the international community. Whether that played a part at all, who knows? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, purely speculative, ika nga.
Yeah.
Pero maganda rin yung point kanina ni Maria to end lang din na she was asked about her message or her thoughts about former President Duterte, and she said it was nothing personal and that she believed that institutions will work. And in this case, it worked. So, abangan na lang din natin yung iba pang mga developments sa remaining cases ng Rappler and Maria. Any last thoughts, Lian?
No, it's also like I also part of the yung ambush nyo kanina kay Maria, she also said that every other journalist attack must be like free from these attacks. She also mentioned Frenchie May Cumpio, who's still in jail, by the way. She's very young, if I'm not mistaken, like in her 20s. Ayun, so as you said, like, we want to believe that this is not political, but it's very closely related to the cause of press freedom. ABS-CBN is still does not have a franchise. So there's still that cloud over Filipino journalists. And I mean, this victory for Rappler, it's a good day. It's a good day for like all Filipino journalists.
Oo nga. Kumbaga, it's a good day, but the fight continues, especially that marami pa rin nakakulong and under attack pa rin ng press freedom. Yun. So, ito po ang mga points ng naging promulgation kanina umaga para doon sa tax evasion cases ng Rappler. So, maraming salamat po sa pagtutok sa Rappler Recap. Tumutok lang din po sa Rappler para sa iba pang mga storya konektado po dito sa mga kaso na ito. Maraming salamat po ulit. Ako po rin si Jairo Bolledo and kasama po natin si Lian live from London. Thank you for watching.